Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Today we're doing another melt and pour tutorial. I'm going ahead and I'm prepping some of the cavities for the soap mold, and I'm just cutting down some bubble wrap to give it a honeycomb effect because we are going to be fragrancing this with oats and honey milk fragrance oil, and I'm going to be adding some additives that will pair nicely with that fragrance. So stick around and watch the tutorial, leave a comment if you have questions, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. So like I said, the first part is what we're doing is just measuring this bubble wrap and kind of just cutting it to fit each cavity. You don't have to do it this way, it's just the way that I thought would be easiest and waste the least amount of bubble wrap and kind of give it a more clean look and finish. You could just leave this all as one big piece and lay it over. I figured if I cut these down, I could reuse them if I need to. So I was just showing you guys how to cut them down pretty easy. And like I said, you can save them for other projects, and then I just wanted to show a top view too in case you can't see what I'm doing, but I just kind of lined it up as best as I could and made a snip on one side and then went ahead and cut. Tutorial, I'm going to be cutting just about 4 ounces of the clear glycerin base, and then the rest that I'm going to be using is going to be a goat's milk base, and that is white base. Both of these come from Crafter's Choice. I really like their soap bases. It's what I use most of the time. I've used a couple other brands, but for me, it's most cost effective for kind of hobby soaping, and I can buy it in like larger quantities, and it just, to me, it satisfies my need for soap making. Some of the other soap bases that I've tried do have a little bit better qualities for suspending soap bases, and if you do this tutorial the way I'm doing it, I would actually recommend doing one of the suspended soap bases just because we're going to be adding some oats to it, and I think it would actually suspend in the soap a little bit better. If you're doing it this way, you want to make sure that when you melt down the soap, you're getting it as cool as you can. It's actually probably better to have a thin layer of skin on top of the soap when you're adding these ingredients. I just went ahead and I measured out about a tablespoon of the oats. I would actually probably do a little bit less than that. And if you haven't used these before, they're a little bit different than actual oats. They've been, like, if I remember correctly, like soaked in water and boiled, and then they do this process where they skim the best, I guess, part of the ingredient off the top, and it goes and it filters through. So that's just like a different additive that you can use, and it's going to be like slightly exfoliating to your skin, but not rough and hurting. It's a very gentle exfoliant. It's also got lots of benefits and properties for your skin. And I'm just go ahead and adding the fragrance oil in as well while I'm adding this in, since I want to get it mixed in as well as I can. The only issue with this is I think next time I will use a little bit less of the oats because there was a lot of clumping in this, and I couldn't get it all the way mixed through. Next time maybe I should add it to like a glycerin base and maybe mix it beforehand. That might help. And the other issue that I had with it too is it just didn't stay suspended. Like once the soap started to dry and sit in the soap mold for a while, it kind of all just floated to the top, so, or actually to the bottom, because I guess it's like too heavy for the soap. So again, if you can find a suspending soap base, it would probably work a little bit better for this tutorial. Element, I'm just going to go ahead and lay some oats down in the bottom of the soap molds. I figured I would do them at the bottom because they would be sinking anyway, so I just kind of went ahead and sprinkled quite a few in there and made sure that they were laid out nicely before I went ahead and poured the soap on top of it. So once these were done and poured into the cavities pretty evenly, I just went ahead and spritzed them down with rubbing alcohol to get rid of the bubbles, and then I melted down clear glycerin, and I'm going to be using the Maya Gold mica from Nurture Soap. I like this one because it's actually a little bit more of a brown orange color, and it does to me look a little bit more like honey as far as the gold shimmer powders go. So I'm just going to add a little bit to the base that I have there, and I have, I think, about 4 ounces of soap base, and it's just enough to go over the top of the other bars that I've made. And you can spritz it down with some rubbing alcohol. It helps get rid of the bubbles when you have melted down the glycerin base, plus it also makes it a little bit easier to kind of stir in the mica colorants. Now I'm just showing you this part to learn from my mistakes. You want to make sure that there actually is a good solid layer. I always get impatient when I'm pouring another layer, especially in melt and pour. So my soap base was still pretty hot, and the white base just had a very light skin on top. You probably want something that's kind of thick, because I thought maybe if I would use a spatula it wouldn't break through, but with the base being so hot and the layer of skin being so thin, it kind of just bust through the layer that had built up there. So I had to come back much later and then just basically try again. So you just want to go ahead and spritz, and you probably should actually score the top of these as well. So you spritz them down, do the rubbing alcohol, and then you can pour the soap base. Once you have all of these poured in, you can wait a couple of minutes before you add the top bubble wrap, or you can do it immediately and just kind of set it nicely on top of there. You don't want to push down too hard, because then it'll break that layer. So I just kind of tapped it really gently and then pushed a little bit. And you do want to make sure that like all of the little bubble wrap bubbles are actually touching the soap, because you can see like there's little air bubbles and pockets. You want to make sure you get rid of that. Otherwise, in those areas, you're not going to have the design of the bubble wrap on top of the soap. So it's going to kind of take away from that. Then I let them sit for probably about 30 minutes and I peeled it off. I didn't want to let it sit too long, because it does become a little bit harder to peel it off. So if you wait about 30 minutes, it should be good to come off. Now these have been sitting for a few hours. I want to say probably about 3 to 4 hours, and I just went ahead and popped them out. As you can see, everything kind of just floated to the bottom. So again, I would kind of recommend doing this at a much lower soap temp, and also getting a suspending base. But the design overall, the concept is there. I like the concept. I'll just be working and perfecting to get this to come out a little bit better. And I'll be posting updates of videos if you want to see them. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, because I do a lot of different experiments with melt and pour soap. If you like that, I've also added a few other recipes for like lip balms, lip scrubs, and cold process soap making. That actually is my favorite, but it's a little bit more time consuming. So just a nice close-up shot of the melt and pour soap, and thank you guys for watching.